This is Cruise Radio.
I cruise a lot, and I always sail with travel insurance. You should, too. Get a free quote today at tripinsurance.com.
Here we go.
Broadcasting from the tripinsurance.com studios in Jacksonville, Florida. This is Cruise Radio.
Hey, how's it going? My name is Doug Parker. Thank you so much for checking out this episode of Cruise Radio. Very happy to have you here, my friend. A review of Carnival Glory this week, and staff writer Richard Sims on deck with Cruise News. Hey, Richard.
Hey, Doug.
It's another one of those stories we've heard a lot of over the past few years.
Yeah, that's right. And here is the lesson. Before you go all in on any investment, make sure the company, actually has the thing that you're supposedly investing in. Otherwise, you could wind up like the dozens of people who paid thousands upon thousands of dollars for an opportunity to live aboard a cruise ship for 3 years. No, we're not talking about Villa V residences at sea this time, but rather a company called Victoria Cruise Line. According to a report by the BBC, and if you can't trust the BBC, who can you trust? Would-be passengers ponied up a whole lot of cash to secure their place on Victoria Cruise Line's 3-year sailing. Forgive me, people, I have a little bit of a cough today. There was, it turns out, one big problem. There wasn't actually a ship for them to sail on. While the advertising apparently featured a former Holland America ship, the vessel's current owner says they have no connection to Victoria Cruises at all. Victoria Cruises says that they weren't able to reach the 80% minimum that they needed in order to charter a boat. So this gets messy, so messy. The cruise company is threatening to sue people who are basically sharing their stories on social media. And in yet another example of Facebook kind of operating in what appears to be bad faith, the platform claims that the company didn't violate any of their advertising policies, despite, kind of what seems like lots of evidence which would indicate otherwise. Meanwhile, Victoria Cruises is still selling the dream. You can go to their website and buy into it. They insist that they will announce a departure date and an itinerary once they've reached the necessary occupancy levels, and presumably once they have actually got a ship to sail on. But I don't know. Doug, do you think this will have a relatively happy ending like Villa V did? Or are these people, some of whom sold their houses and even gave away their pets, are they screwed?
Hey, man, they're lawsuit happy. All I'm going to say is that I wish everyone the best in this venture.
That's a very, very good point. There does seem to be a lot of legal maneuvering going on here. I mean, when a cruise line is threatening to sue the BBC, that's kind of serious.
Meanwhile, if you're planning to park at Port Canaveral, it's going to cost you a few dollars more.
Yeah, I always thought Port Canaveral was the busiest port in the world, but it turns out that it's actually second behind Port Miami. So that was what I learned researching this story. So far, something like 8 million people have sailed out of Port Canaveral this year, which is kind of insane. And while not all those people are parking at the port, obviously a whole lot are. Well, as of now, the cost to do so has risen to $20 per day plus tax. That's up from the previous rate of $17 a day plus tax. It's probably worth noting that this is the first time they've increased their prices since 2017. So, not that much to complain about, really. But it's also worth noting that the $20 a day includes both embarkation and debarkation day, which means that even if you get off the ship at the crack of dawn and run down to your car and get out of there as soon as possible, you still have to pay the full $20 plus tax for parking that day. So, you might as well linger and have an extra cup of coffee.
So Port Canaveral charges per day. So if your cruise is Thursday through Sunday, they're charging you $20 for Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So it's $80 instead of $60 for a 3-night cruise.
Yes, that is completely right.
And Carnival's showing us that it's not too early to roll out those 2028 sailings.
We talk about this a lot, but I feel like recently in the last year or so, we're seeing a lot more far-flung itineraries than we did before. It used to be you saw them 6 months, 8 months, a year in advance, but we're talking through 2028 now. So that's, they want to get you booked. They want that money in their coffer, even if it's just the deposit. You'll remember, I think it was last week, we were talking about earnings. And one of the really fascinating facts was how much money they have in the bank that is just future deposit. So that's one of the reasons they roll itineraries out so early. But to be honest, Carnival has so many ships and is doing so much shuffling around over the next year or two that we're just going to hit a couple of the highlights, especially since we are talking about 27 and 28. So first, let's talk about the one that matters to me, because this is the news I've been waiting to hear for weeks. You know, I sail out of New York, and I was very unhappy to hear that Venezia was leaving New York. But it turns out now that her sister ship, the Carnival Firenze, will, in the summer of 27, begin sailing out of New York City. The itineraries, as we record this, are not on sale yet. They should be soon. So there's no real word on them, but, and you know I'm checking like every hour. But it seems safe to assume they'll do the usual like Florida Nassau run, which I've done a million times. I don't care as long as I'm sailing out of New York. In other news, the Carnival Miracle is going to start sailing out of Galveston in late March of 2027. They'll be doing everything from a couple of 4-day trips to one that sounds super cool. It's a 10-day Eastern Caribbean sailing to Celebration Key, Half Moon Key, Grand Turk, and Amber Cove. I mean, that's like my dream itinerary, honestly, to just jump from like one of these to the other. After wrapping up her stay in Galveston, the Miracle will head to Europe and they'll be doing a 14-day Carnival Journeys transatlantic trip. Meanwhile, the Carnival Paradise will continue to sail out of Tampa, and Elation is going to stay in your neck of the woods, Jacksonville. So I think the real news here is, as you look at these new itineraries they're rolling out, how heavily Carnival, like some other lines, is really leaning into shorter voyages. It used to be that 7 days was the norm, but now a lot of lines are really focusing on those shorter 3, 4, and 5-day sailings.
And a great story from the folks over at Holland America Line.
You're right, this is a nice story. I'd go so far as to call it lovely. So listeners may recall that over the years, we occasionally shared stories about this beautiful service dog named Yoska, whose owners were very, very big fans of Holland America. They sailed with them all the time. And wherever they went, so did Yoska. Over the span of the puppy's life, she became the first dog to receive 5-star Mariner status on a Holland American ship, as well as the Platinum Medallion. Sadly, Yoska passed away this past February, but Holland America has found several really cool, unique ways to honor the late guide dog, including there's now a special plaque aboard the Rotterdam, which you can find near the elevators in the atrium. But they've also donated the proceeds. They do this thing called On Deck for a Cause. Various cruise lines do different things. Carnival does the Groove for St. Jude's. Well, in Holland America, they do On Deck for a Cause, and the money goes to various, as the title implies, various foundations and, people who do good things. In this case, they are donating the proceeds that were gathered over the summer on Rotterdam and New Statendam to the Royal Dutch Guide Dog Foundation, which is the organization that originally placed Yoska with her owners. By the way, that same Guide Dog Foundation has provided those owners with a new companion whose name is Wailu. So I expect that in the coming years, we will hear lots about Wailu as, I think it's a she, I'm not 100% sure, as she sort of works her way up the ladder of the loyalty status. So yeah, what a nice way to end this week's news.
Listener question comes from Mike in Manhattan, and it's directed to you, Richard. He says he knows you're a big NCL fan, and he heard a rumor, and he hopes that it's not true.
Well, what's funny is that Mike in Manhattan, which sounds like the name of a great romantic comedy, didn't even say what the change might be, and I know exactly what he's referring to. And yes, sadly, it is true. Norwegian is sending out letters to booked guests announcing that beginning on March 1st, 2026, the drink package, whether you get it for free through the More at Sea package or whether you buy it, it will no longer be accepted on Great Stirrup Cay. Now, I usually try and talk the nickel and dime crowd out of, grabbing their torches and pitchforks, but this time I'm kind of going to join them. I know that other lines, in particular Carnival, have long had this policy, but quite frankly, this is a terrible change. But wait, it gets worse. And it really only rubs salt in the wound, because not only is NCL saying that you can no longer use your drink package on the island starting in March, but they're making the rather audacious move of saying, but wait, yeah, sure, you can't use your drink package on the island, but we're going to create and sell to you a different drink package, which is only good on the island. In other words, they want you to buy 2 different drink packages. No details have been announced yet regarding this separate package, but NCL says it'll go on sale in January of 2026 and will be good for any sailings to their private destination as of March. So yeah, it is true, Mike. They are no longer accepting the drink package on the island, but you can buy a separate package. I will be really interested to see what this second package looks like and how much it costs, but this is not going to go down well. Over the last couple of years, we've seen Norwegian make a few changes that have, let's say, riled some people, and I think this is definitely going to be one of them.
All right. Well, I'm not sure how our audio is going to sound, so I'm going to close it out here.
Well, okay. And, you said you're in, I don't know how to say it. I don't know where it is. Where are you and what are you doing there?
As of recording, I am on a layover in Malaysia at Kuala Lumpur, and I'm flying down to Indonesia to go to East Java to hike Mount Ijen. It's a volcano that's known for the blue flame there. So we're going to do a sunrise hike. So we'll see how that goes.
Be very careful. The only experience I have with volcanoes is that a character on The Young and the Restless fell into one and was never seen again. So please do not do that. But I hope you have an amazing time, and I hope you will share some pictures with all of us when you get back.
Will do, man. Staff writer Richard Sims with Cruise News. Talk to you soon.
Talk to you later.
The world is constantly changing. Your place for news is still the same. Online and on demand at cruiseradio.net.
A big question we get at Cruise Radio is, how do I know if I need trip insurance? Simple answer. If you're getting on a plane, taking a road trip, or getting on a cruise ship, you need to have travel insurance. Hey, it's Doug Parker from my friends at tripinsurance.com. Not only does tripinsurance.com protect your vacation investment, but it also gives you peace of mind in case anything were to go wrong on your trip. How do they do it? They offer 3 different types of trip insurance policies. Good, better, and best. One policy for every vacation budget. But it doesn't just stop there. They're up to 40% lower when you shop around on other comparison sites. Plus, tripinsurance.com offers 24-hour customer support before, during, and after your trip, online claims assistance, and travel alerts to let you know what's going on at your destination. But find out for yourself. Check out tripinsurance.com.
Have a tip or a lead on a news story? Let us know. Email tips@cruiseradio.net.
Tim and his family just returned from a 4-night sailing on Carnival Cruise Line's Carnival Glory out of Port Canaveral. It went over to Nassau, Bahamas, and their new destination, Celebration Key. Tim joins us on the line to talk all about it. Hi, Tim.
Hello, Doug. Glad to be back.
Good to talk to you again, my friend. Last time we spoke, you were on MSC World America, shifting gears and going a little farther up the coast to Port Canaveral this time. So before we get to Carnival Glory, we'll take a step back here. You're in North Dakota. You made the jaunt down for the 4-night sailing. Give me some pre-cruise thoughts here.
Well, we booked this cruise about a year ago, and this was originally supposed to be kind of taking our 3 kids, a family trip, but our daughter had just graduated college and was offered her dream job of being a French teacher, so she had to take that. So we only took our 2 boys, and she had to stay back, unfortunately. But yeah, it was supposed to be a little family trip. We went down a day or 2 days early and took in Universal Studios and just had a kind of a good time before we got on our cruise.
How was the embarkation process once you made your way to the ship, and how long did it take you from the curb to the ship?
There was a bit of wait time. We actually had a 10 o'clock arrival time, so we were there pretty early. And so we were probably sitting in the terminal for about 30 minutes. And the only real complaint I had about that in the terminal was that their intercom system was impossible to hear what they were saying. It was so muffled and distorted. And so at one point, everybody just got up and started heading towards the door, and they had to start yelling, everybody sit back down, because they weren't calling you or anything. So it got a little crazy for there.
Once you made your way on board the ship, though, was this your first time on a Conquest class ship?
What other ships are in Conquest class?
So you have Freedom, Conquest, Glory, and Valor.
Yeah, this would be our first one then.
Okay, so what were your first impressions of this one?
Interesting design. Now, I'm not sure if any of these, that is it Joe Farkas?
It is, yeah.
Is that his name, that designed a lot of these ships? I'm assuming this was a ship he designed.
Certainly.
And so did he do like Sunrise and Sunshine and stuff like that too, and Radiance, or?
No, so Carnival switched to a German design group back in like 2012 or 13, and they've been doing all the refurbs since then.
Okay, because I was thinking this was the only one that we've ever been on that quite looked like this one does. It's really different, really interesting. I liked it in the way that it felt kind of old school, and so I really appreciated that part of it. Yeah,
Glory was Colors of the World theme.
Sail, like the Red Sail, the buffet is the Red Sail restaurant.
Yeah, and the nightclub is called White Heat, and was it the Amber Theater up front?
Yeah, when you mentioned colors, every floor has its own color. And so when you're in the lobby and you look at the elevators, where every floor is, it's red, green, orange, it just does that. And it is very neat when you're in the stairs. Yeah. Have glass for the railing area that's tinted blue. And then you get to the next floor and it changes orange or whatever. And you go up the steps and the tiles are, if the next floor is going to be orange, you're looking at the tiles on the floor and they alternate, green, orange, green, orange, green, orange. And you go to the next one, blue, yellow, blue. They even alternate the tiles and everything. It was really neat how it was all done. Yeah, you can say what you want about Joe Farkas, but you cannot say he did not pay attention to detail. He did a great job with making sure every little thing went noticed. You made your way to the stateroom. Since you were traveling with the family, you booked a couple, you told me, a couple of staterooms, I should say. What did you think? We were on the second floor after the ship, and we had one before on, I can't remember what ship it was. They are L-shaped, way in the back. And so you actually get two windows in there, and we call them like mini suites because they're actually a little bit bigger, and we really like them. The only complaint you can have about them is right below you is where they're dropping the ropes and everything for when you dock it. So you're going to hear that noise at that time. Other than that, they were fine and they were quiet. Explain this L-shaped room. When you open your door, you actually kind of have a hallway. You walk all the way in. And they come in, beds there, and you get a little couch or a chair and a table. And the bathroom is kind of way in the back corner. For it being a 22-year-old ship, how modern did it feel? Yeah, staterooms felt pretty much like any of the other ships we went on. Yes, if you look around, some of it's a little older looking yet. Some of the decor yet was older. The TVs were pretty small in there, so they probably could use a few things updated in there, but they didn't seem bad or worn or anything like that. Let's talk about the food on Carnival Glory. We'll go up to the Lido Marketplace, the buffet on Carnival ships. How was the food in there, and did it ever feel too crowded throughout your cruise? Yeah, a little bit. These buffets are set up, instead of having the separate islands, you got to do the long line to get in. So it was kind of at times quite a wait, and and especially if you just want to get like one thing, you kind of have to wait in line or squeeze yourself through if you can, type of thing. So that was the only complaint about that. The food's usually pretty good. And this one, and it was never listed on the app, but upstairs there is a chicken and waffles place that also had barbecue. And they never listed on the app when it was going to be open or anything like that. It's kind of like if you didn't know to go up there, you would never know the place existed. Interesting. I haven't heard of the chicken and waffles one before, but is this like an unlicensed guy's barbecue? Yeah, basically. Yeah, they had all the barbecue, not even all the barbecue stuff they usually had because they didn't have any sausage, but they did have the barbecue. And then the main thing they were advertising, though, was basically chicken and waffles.
I know you're not big main dining room fans. Over the past 8 years, we've been doing interviews, but did you do it this time?
We never did the main dining room. We had a my time dining, but we never went just because I think since we had our boys with, we kind of planned maybe we would, but we just never ended up hitting it up.
How about the steakhouse?
No. We really liked the steakhouse. We won that free chance to go to the steakhouse, and we did that, and we really like it. And so we have another cruise planned, and we're kind of planning on doing the steakhouse on that because we really like the steakhouse. But no, we didn't try it on this one either.
How about other food around the ship we haven't talked about, like the Blue Iguana Cantina and Guy's Burger Joint?
Yes, those are probably two of my favorites. So, yeah, I think we had tacos every single day, and on a 4-day cruise, I had 5 Guys Burgers. So if that tells you anything, we hit those. I also hit the deli, of course, Pizza Pirate, the pizza. And I found interesting, I didn't agree with my boys, but they actually liked the pizza they had on the late night buffet better than the Pizza Pirate.
Interesting. The deep dish.
Yeah.
Yeah. Being a Carnival cruiser for the past decade or so, I'm curious your thoughts of Guy's Burger Joint and the consistency of the burger throughout the years. Have you noticed any changes, or has it stood the test of time?
I think it's kind of gone up and down over years, and it seemed like they changed fries at one point. Mm-hmm. And you also used to be able to get bacon on the toppings bar and stuff that they don't have anymore. But overall, I think it's still pretty good. It's hard to remember exactly how one was, but right. I do think it's still pretty good. But I have seen, and maybe it's just different ships or something, but I do feel like it's gone up and down a little bit. But overall, I think it's still pretty much the same.
How about breakfast? I know some Carnival ships are doing breakfast at Guy's Burger Joint, and of course, the Cantina has always done breakfast. What'd you think?
Didn't try Guy's breakfast at all. I did see they were now offering like I don't remember if they call it a junior burger or something, but more like a child-size burger there. So that was kind of interesting. But you didn't do breakfast there. Just only did breakfast a couple times up at the buffet. We just kind of ran up there and grabbed some food to take back to the cabin to the wife and stuff. So just the usual, grab a bagel, some bacon, and head back to the cabin to eat breakfast. What
did you think of the entertainment on this 4-nighter?
Not as good as some of the other ships. I really like to sit down when they have a full band playing somewhere like the Ocean Plaza or something. They really didn't have that. Most of it was kind of either one guy with a guitar, maybe a couple performing. And of course they had like the violins playing in the main atrium at one point. So there wasn't the full band experience that I kind of like to go watch. And then the production shows were the basic kind of shows that we've seen a bunch of times. So
what kind of crowd did this ship draw, the demographic? I'm curious because, 3 and 4-nighters historically are the people that have it full throttle, ready to just get the party started a long weekend or whatnot. And historically, the longer ones have been a bit more low key.
I have to say, we were a little concerned because we haven't done a 4-day cruise in a little while. And it was not. And if people were there to party, you didn't really know it. We weren't bothered by some drunk guy sitting at the bar next to you or any of that kind of stuff. Everybody just seemed to be there having a good time. And we talked to some people when we were in the hot tub the one time, and they were there because they had free drinks everywhere with their casino deal, but it just seemed fine. I don't know. It really was not what you might think a 4-day cruise, what people think a lot of times. So we were really pleased with that.
What did your sons think of the entertainment?
Their entertainment was the casino.
Nice.
They did like the Love and Marriage show, which everybody seems to love. Yeah. They did like that. They didn't really watch much for the other shows. They spent a lot of time in the casino.
I hope it did them well.
Yeah, they did pretty well, actually. They were pretty happy that they got to kind of gamble through the whole cruise and not feel like they were just losing. So that really helped them out, that they'd be up and maybe down the next day, then up again, So they were happy to be able to keep gambling like that.
That's good to hear. So let's talk about the casino, actually, since your boy spent some time there. Smoke situation in and around it, how did it stack up?
I did not think it was that bad at all. They must have some decent ventilation there. It just didn't seem terrible at all in there.
All right. Well, let's talk about the sea days, crowds and congestion. I know it was a full ship, you said.
Yes, and didn't seem too bad. What was interesting to me about this ship, it is bigger than like Sunshine, Radiance, and Sunrise, but it actually to me felt smaller. So getting around a little bit could be a thing. But we really still didn't have much trouble when we wanted to go use a hot tub. We were able to do it. If you wanted to get a place by the pool on the sea day and stuff, that might be a little bit of a challenge. We're not necessarily need to be right next to the pool. We'll go off somewhere else if we're looking for a seat or something. But it wasn't too bad. But yes, it did kind of get a little crowded on the sea day. Other than that, I didn't feel like it was terrible to navigate around or anything like that. And even the casino, we pretty much could get in, play what we wanted, when we wanted.
The reason why this one feels a little less crowded than Carnival Sunrise and Sunshine, and basically the same class of ships, same amount of staterooms between like maybe the 20 stateroom difference. But on Carnival Sunrise and Sunshine, they took out that back lounge. So on Glory, you can go back there and hang out. And other parts of the ship were also taken out to block off and put 144 staterooms on those two other ships, where this one still has all those lounges open.
Sure. Okay.
So you're like, just shut up, Doug. So you leave Port Canaveral and you make your way to Nassau, Bahamas. How was your day there?
We just kind of walked around. Our boys had never been there before, so we just kind of took them around, showed them the new port area, and did a little shopping. We really only spent a couple hours, and we lucked out because we got back on the ship. We went up to eat, and a thunderstorm came, and it downpoured. I mean, it was pouring. And the stories of people out in the streets they were flooding the streets out there, and people that were on excursions having a heck of a time trying to get back and stuff. And so, yeah, it was quite the downpour, and the thunder was loud and instant. The storm was just over. So you see the flash and the thunder would just bang, and the water was just pouring down the Lido deck, down the steps and stuff. So we made it back just in time. So we were glad about that. But yeah, a lot of people got caught in that storm.
Those thunderstorms in the Bahamas will come out of nowhere sometimes. So you make your way to Celebration Key. Carnival just opened that back in July. I'm curious, your first time there, your initial thoughts, and how did it compare to like Half Moon Key?
Oh, it does not. Half Moon, we love Half Moon, and we weren't as impressed with Celebration Key, I hate to say.
Oh, wow. Okay, why is that?
You know, everything's new, so everything's really nice. The pool there is huge and everything. We went to the beach. We wanted to hang out in the ocean. It's rocky, and we didn't bring our water shoes, unfortunately. So it's very rocky, and boy, I felt like I had cut my feet a couple times, even though I didn't. And Half Moon Cay, you know, it's just so sandy and beautiful there. The other thing that kind of got us was, you know, Half Moon, they have the free buffet lunch thing, and here you get one little meal on your card, and the trucks it was confusing where the trucks were hidden way in the back and what things you could go get, and some of the kiosks weren't working and everything. It just, I don't know if it's because it was kind of new, but we kind of missed that whole buffet lunch thing, and only being able to get one little item on your card before you have to start buying extra things and stuff. That kind of was a turn off. The place is beautiful. You give it that much, but that part of it kind of made it a little, I don't want to say it was a money grab, but it really kind of was a little bit of a turnoff that you couldn't just go get things. They didn't even have lemonade for you either, like they would at Half Moon or anything like that.
Well, I mean, let's just face it. Carnival didn't put it there because they're nice. They put it there to make money, right?
Well, yeah. So it's hard to argue with it because I understand what they're doing, but from our perspective, and I thought the food trucks would be spread out a little bit and stuff, but you really had to go search them out to find them.
But let me ask you this, because I've never have used the meal credit that was put to my Sail and Sign card, because when I went there, it was opening day one. Then I flew down to Freeport to go there by myself a second time with Carnival's permission. So I was buying my food from the restaurants where you sit down. And I guess if you were to sit down as a cruise passenger, you would get 25% off of that. But did you find that whether it be like the chicken tenders, the burgers or whatever, did it seem to be higher quality buffet food like than that burger or than those chicken tenders over at Half Moon?
Good question. You know, I just had a regular burger. I would say, because you're kind of compared to Guy's Burger, right? Because they don't have a burger on the buffet or anything. It seemed pretty good. I think my wife got a chicken thing, and I think she thought it was pretty good. And I would even say the cookie that came with it, we both commented that the cookie was a lot better than any of the cookies you find on the ship. So it does seem like maybe they are getting a little bit better food quality there and on the ship.
Yeah.
But I couldn't say 100%, you know.
Yeah, they say the food quality is better and it's local people cooking your food. So like local chefs and stuff instead of it coming off the ship. So I guess that's good too. How about walking around? Did you do the whole circumference of the property?
I walked the whole circumference of the property just because I wanted to video and take pictures of the whole thing. So I did walk the whole thing. So you can do it. It is quite a walk and it does take quite a while if you want to get from one end all the way around to the other end. But the trams are running continuously, so you could use them very easily.
Yeah, and if you plan to do that walk without the tram, make sure you hydrate up with water because that Bahamian heat will get you.
Yeah, I did. In fact, my wife, she couldn't take it anymore, so she headed back to the ship while I finished up all my videoing and stuff. And yeah, by the time I was getting pretty exhausted from the heat myself, so.
Opening day had a 103 heat index, and it was rough. You mentioned before we started recording that there were two ships there, Sunshine, I think you said, and of course your ship, Carnival Glory. How did it behave with two ships? Did it ever feel too crowded? Was there enough umbrellas, lawn chairs for everyone?
Absolutely. It was, ours, Glory and Sunrise that was there. Or maybe a Sunshine, I can't remember now. But there definitely was plenty of space. And when I walked around, I was amazed at how much space there was around the pool and everything. Because we had hung out at the beach, but I even thought, we could come over here to the pool and have a lounger right up front, but next to the pool, because there was plenty of open space.
Bringing what we just talked about full circle, if you were to give any tips for Celebration Key, what would they be?
Yes, definitely bring water shoes because at least in the beach area and they even had signs up saying that it was a rocky area. So, and I noticed that was even on some of the other areas that we didn't go in the water, that they had those signs up. So it must be kind of everywhere. So I don't know that there's one area better than the other as far as trying to get a really sandy beach area. I mean, the beach is fine. It's once you start walking in the water, it is rocky and hard to just go through there with your bare feet. So definitely water shoes. And depending on what kind of person you are, if you like the beach, we usually like to be on the beach and go in the ocean, not in the pool. Mm-hmm. There's plenty of spaces and everything. But yes, get an umbrella, and which they are widely available. So you really shouldn't have too much of a problem with that because the heat can be a little rough on you. And I did get a little red that day just because it was pretty hot that day as well. And then if you do want to be near the food and stuff, don't go right when you get off the ship, which is kind of what we did. We walked down the pier, we took a left, we went off into the beach right there because all the food stuff is way further in the back. Maybe grab a tram and go off on the backside if you want to be closer to the food items.
This may sound silly, but a lot of people do talk about this. The length of the pier from where the ship docks till you get to land itself. What did you think about the walk? Yeah,
we're walkers, so we don't mind walking all over the place, and we do it in flip-flops and stuff. So for us, we didn't think it was that big a deal either. I can see how for some people it might be a little longer walk, or and especially if you were doing it in flip-flops or something like that, then you're not used to walking that far. It could be something, but no, I didn't think it was that big a deal either. Although, like I said, I was starting to overheat, so the walk back started to feel a little long when you're getting as hot as I was. But other than that, no, I didn't think it was that big a deal. I feel like you could walk back to the ship and, get something to eat and come back if you even wanted to do that, if you didn't want to pay the extra charge or something.
It always comes back to the Bahamian heat because it does get pretty brutal out there.
Yeah, and I work outside. I'm used to it, and I usually just sweat and I don't have a problem. But yeah, it's definitely a different thing. And we're not big drinkers, but I know my wife had one drink, and then you add the heat to that. And with just one drink, and then that's what was kind of getting her, so she had to head back.
And speaking of heading back, you make your way back to Port Canaveral. How was the debark process?
Debark was great, and I was so happy because we haven't cruised out of Port Canaveral too often, but I wanted to see a rocket launch. And I happened to notice the night before at 7:29 in the morning was going to be a rocket launch, so I was ready to get up and get out there and check out. There was a SpaceX that was going to be launching. And then they changed it to 8:32, and we were supposed to be getting off the ship at 8:30. So we had to go down, and as my family sat in the main atrium with the crew trying to push them out the door, I was standing by a set of windows watching the rocket take off. So other than that, it went fine. Besides, they were trying to push us out of the ship. But yeah, it went smooth, pretty fast. And, with facial recognition technology, I mean, you just pass through everything pretty fast nowadays.
Now that you've sailed a Conquest class ship, any first-time tips to offer?
I can't think of anything except for, the design of the ship is really different. So if you are somebody who likes the newer ships, it might take you back a little bit just because it is really different. I really appreciated getting to see the design, and I was just, everywhere we went, I was just checking out all that detail that there is on the ship. So I really appreciated that part of it. I really liked a lot of that. Of course, it is a smaller ship, so it doesn't quite have all the bells and whistles of a new ship. So if you're really used to, being able to ride the Bolt and do all these types of things, you're not going to get that either. Mm-hmm. But for a 4-day cruise, this was perfect. It had plenty of things to do. It still had the trivia and all the different things like that there are to do. So it was a great ship for all that. And we had no problem with it at all. And it's not necessarily our favorite ship, not the worst ship. It is just a really good ship that we enjoyed and had a lot of fun on.
Looking back, what was the biggest highlight of this cruise for y'all?
I think for us, it was getting to spend time with our boys. And this was only their second cruise. And their first one was right after the pandemic. We actually had one booked before that hit, and they had to keep pushing it off. So when we finally did get to take them, we still had to wear masks. We had to do all this stuff. So it was fun to get to show them what an actual cruise feels like and everything. So to get to spend time with them was a joy. And we're not big gamblers either, but we did enjoy the casino on this one, which has not been the case on a lot of them. A lot of them we've been on and we felt like we lost in 2 minutes and we were out of there. But this one, we actually got to play for a while. We felt like we had a really good time. Whether you came out ahead or you were down, we just really had fun in the casino. Maybe it's because our boys were there. I don't know. But it just seemed like a good time.
So let me ask you then, what machine is your machine?
My one son, he is into those quarter pushers. He loves them. And I don't have a favorite. I kind of go around and just see what, I'll play just a little bit. And if it doesn't seem to be hitting, I move on. I always feel like I'm drawn to things with dollar signs and red, white, and blue. For some reason, but I don't have a specific one that's my favorite, though.
Gotcha. Well, your final thoughts of Carnival Glory.
Great ship. 4-day cruise like this, like I said, it was fun. It was a good ship, great size for the 4 days. Beautiful, that old decor. Like I said, I just really enjoyed that. My wife, not so much. I think she likes newer ships better, but I really appreciated that and was just studying it, looking at it all the time. The crew was great, amazing. They took care of us and it was fun. The crowds were fine, everything. It was just a good cruise.
We've been talking with Tim about his 4-night cruise on Carnival Glory out of Port Canaveral. You can check out his YouTube channel for some of the celebration key footage and such at Cruising Together Couple on YouTube. Tim, as always, my friend, great talking to you, and thanks again for your review.
You bet. I appreciate it.
All right, Dougie, let's see what we got for you, buddy. Cruise Radio is produced at the tripinsurance.com studios in Jacksonville, Florida. Get cruise news, ship reviews, and money-saving tips every Thursday on Cruise Radio. If you've enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to the show. If you want to help spread the word, give Cruise Radio a 5-star review. Find Cruise Radio where you listen to your favorite podcast or online at cruiseradio.net. I'm your announcer,